Good morning. Thank you for coming. It's my pleasure to be able to speak to you today. Today we're going to continue the theme of Invest Cambodia, which is a mantra now of the American Chamber of Commerce. We have sort of crafted that phrase to encourage now investment in Cambodia, but not only just investment coming in, but diversification of investment, because the country's FDI is 50% from China, if not more, and we need to diversify the foreign direct investment in the country. And that's now a mission of AmCham, is to get more diverse investment from different countries, and of course America being one. So thank you for allowing me to have this presentation today, because I really am excited about Invest Cambodia. And I want to tell the international community why they should invest in Cambodia. Okay, so let's begin. So those of you who don't know me, I am the president of the American Chamber of Commerce. I've been president for about 18 months. And I'm also the group chief executive for Cambodian Investment Management Holdings, which has a series of companies. My career has been in banking. I spent 17 years with Citibank. About 3 years with ANZ. I'm originally from New York. I started on Wall Street in New York, and from there I worked in London, Brussels, Hong Kong, Thailand, and Indonesia, mostly in corporate banking as corporate bank head, and also as transaction banking for regional jobs. I started my own business here about 12 years ago, and we have a series of companies which I'll touch upon. So these are the companies that I am either chairman or CEO. We have our biggest business is tax and accounting. Corporate finance is also mergers, acquisitions, private equity. And we have an audit company, we have a service office, we have an HR company, and we have an insurance brokerage company. I'm going to spend a minute to talk about the American Chamber of Commerce, because that's, again, the mantra for Invest Cambodia sort of was spawned from there. So the American Chamber of Commerce has presently 220 members. We've risen from about 123 people in the beginning of January 2021, 123 members, and now we're 220. So that's about an 80% growth. Our focus on our members is, members are customers. We run our chamber like a business, and our members are really what's important to us, to enrich their experience and provide value to them. There's 7 advocacy committees for the American Chamber of Commerce. One of them is real estate. Tom O'Sullivan is the chairman of that committee. This month we'll be doing a survey for AmCham's first annual market survey, real estate survey, which will be in the middle of the month or towards the end of the month. So real estate committee is one of our largest committees, one of our most active committees. Given the fact that the Ministry of Economy and Finance now is becoming very, very stringent with regulations, we've been doing a really good job of communicating what you need to do to register for your license, what the process is, and what's down the road for real estate agents and brokers. It's going to only get more regulated. So it's good to be part of the Chamber of Commerce to help you with these issues that you may have as this market is now emerging and being regulated. So we're one of the most active chambers. We really welcome Khmer companies. We're about really 50% of our membership now is Cambodian. And we also just launched the AmCham Channel, which this speech will be on as well. There's obviously a lot of videos on all the activities of the American Chamber of Commerce. Okay, let's talk about Invest Cambodia. So as I said, we come up with this, I wouldn't say it would be completely new, but we're really pushing now the American Chamber of Commerce, Invest Cambodia. Cambodia, I think, needs to get the reputation it deserves as an attractive investment center. Cambodia now is the Asian tiger of the 21st century. That's really the tagline here. Cambodia is the Asian tiger of the 21st century. So those of you that don't have gray hair or are the sort of millennial or younger generation, what does Asia tiger mean? Asia tiger was coined as a statement when, in the 60s up to the 90s, when Hong Kong, Singapore, South Korea, and Taiwan were really underdeveloped countries, and they became industrialized and had high exceptional growth rates. Industrialized and high exceptional growth rates. Does that sound familiar? That's Cambodia. It's industrialized and having high growth rates. GDP 7% plus for 2 decades on average. There was later what was called the tiger cub economies, and those are familiar to us. They're neighbors. They're Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Thailand, and Vietnam. Those were seen as tiger economies. Cambodia has not yet been seen as a tiger economy, and it should be. So I want to say now, Cambodia should be recognized as the tiger economy, and in fact, the Asian tiger economy of the 21st century. That's why you should invest in Cambodia as well. Another reason. We should address this misguided perception that Cambodia is a poor country. It's not a poor country. The world still thinks it's a poor country. It's not a poor. How many Rolls Royces do you see a day? Is this a poor country? It's not a poor country. And this is not Cambodians believing it's a poor country. This is what the outside world believes, that still maybe Cambodia is a poor country. So it's not underdeveloped. And even still, you talk to people in other parts of the world, Europe and the US, they think we're recovering from war or genocide. This is 50 years ago. So this is not, these perceptions of Cambodia need to be really changed. So this is far behind Cambodia. Cambodia is a lower middle income country. A lower middle income country is comparable to some other lower middle income countries. That's Argentina, Brazil, and the Philippines. We're comparable, Cambodia, to those countries, those cub Asian tigers that started the late 90s and 2000s as being recognized as Asian tigers. We're comparable to them. So we have to change perception of what Cambodia is as an investment center. And we're aspiring to be a middle income status country. That's seen to be happening in 2030, but I'm saying it's going to happen before then. It will happen in 2028. I'm sure of it. We're growing that fast. We have to also address what you see almost in every article about disadvantages of investing in Cambodia. What are those disadvantages? Poor infrastructure. Is it really poor infrastructure? I don't think so anymore. We have new airports coming online. The Ministry of Public Works and Transport under His Excellency Sun Chantol has done a fantastic job of building expressways and highways. In terms of electrification, it's now 87% of the country. That's an incredible figure. 87% of the country now is electrified, considering that 75% of the country is in fact rural. So that takes a lot of effort when 75% of your population is in rural areas, and then electrifying the country at 87%. Takes a lot of effort to do that. We are criticized for deforestation. Still 46% of the country is forests. Life expectancy is now 70 years old, which is rivaling Europe in the US and North America, which is around 78, 79. We were 58 years old in 2000. Now we're 70. Only in 20 years, we went from 58 years old life expectancy to 70. We made major strides in doing business in the legal system. Is improved greatly. And I have never seen in all the countries I've been in the engagement by the government with the private sector that you see here. It's unprecedented. Working groups, the size of the private and government working group D, the tax working group, all the working groups around tourism and other industries. The government is highly engaged, engaging the chambers and creating subcommittees and consultation groups. This government is very engaged in working with the private sector. Really, in simple terms, why invest in Cambodia? Cambodia's economy had an average growth rate of 7.7% between 98 and 2019. Now, COVID came, hurt us a little bit, but we're back on track. But for 22 decades, 7.7%, that's a true Asian tiger. We're estimating that we've probably grown about 3%-ish. In 21, we'll probably grow around 5.3 in 22. country allows 100% foreign ownership. And this is a question I get from investors all the time. Can I be 100% owned? My company, I want to protect and have my own company. This doesn't happen in our neighbors. Our neighboring countries don't allow 100% foreign ownership in most cases. They have to get a shareholder, local shareholder. We don't have to do that. You can own 100% as a foreigner. It's a massive, massive advantage. We're a dollarized economy. There's a lot of debate around this. I've been an advocate for maintaining it. It's still in the 85% range. It's helped us. It's helped us a lot. We've seen our neighbors, especially during the currency crises, really lose value of currency. The Philippines, the last 12 months, has lost 12% of the value of their currency. 12% of the peso has been in decline. And we saw what's happened in the Asian crisis. So the dollar index has never been as high since 2002. The dollar is the strongest it's been in 20 years. And that's really helping us. How does that help us? Oil is priced in dollars. Commodities are priced in dollars. Having a strong currency is very important. We don't have that exposure. So an investor coming in saying, okay, I'm going to invest in this market, has to look at two things. They have to look at the value of the asset going up or down, or they have to look at the value of the currency going up and down. So when you're looking at investments in a market, you have to look at your currency risk just as much as you have to look at your asset risk. So we have a dollarized economy, and we have the strongest, one of the strongest currencies in the world right now, which is the dollar is at a record high over the last 2 decades. Strategic location, we're right in the middle of Asia. Perfect positioning. And with the port coming in Sihanoukville, it's going to be very good for us in terms of being part of the supply chain. It's been a great progress on the law of investment. This was probably one of the most meaningful law of investment changes over the past few years. So qualified investment projects do have some good tax incentives. Cambodia has done a fantastic job with free trade agreements and the regional comprehensive economic partnership. You have already seen the results of these, how it's affected the economy so positively. So these treaties that are being signed by the government are having a real positive effect on trade for us with other countries. I'm not a big fan of the next one, the minimum capital requirements of $1,000, but you come into the country, you're a foreigner, you have $1,000, and there you go, you have a company. I think capitalization should be increased. It's too low, but other countries have $1, so I guess maybe I'm not the smartest guy in the room on this, but it's still at $1,000, you could just start a company. Corporate taxes are generally low. We're below the average. Average in ASEAN is about 23%. We're at 20% for profit tax. And we have a very youthful population. 16 million Cambodians in the country, around half are under 25 years old. This is a millennial population that's going to really make a big difference for us in years to come. I'm doing a little data bank here because I want to give you an idea of how the country has changed in the last 20 years. Our population is now close to 17 million. It was about 12 million in 2000. That's not really massive growth. The population isn't growing much. I think there will be a better immigration policy probably around people coming in and investing and actually living here, as Thailand did. It's a great place to live. As I said, life expectancy is 70 years old, up from 58 in 2000. What does that mean? It means our healthcare system is getting better. The environment to live here is not as difficult, not as complex. There's more people in white-collar work. There's more people have access to healthcare. So it was one of the criticisms of Cambodia was the healthcare system, and it's getting much better. Look at the vaccinations. It just explains it all, right? The vaccination rate was the best in the world. Population growth, 1.4%. Again, not high. It's in a downward trend. So I think Cambodians need to have more babies because the rest of the world is the population growth is a little bit better than us. Well, not everywhere. I mean, Japan also is having problems there, and some other countries, Singapore. but we are not growing as a population. I want to, again, the new Asian tiger of the 21st century. Why? GDP is almost $27 billion now. What was it in 2000? 3.6. 27 times growth of GDP in 20 years. That's amazing. Just absolutely amazing. And per capita, it's actually grown 5 times. So it was 300, you had 300 per capita in 2000. Now you have 1,591. Unemployment, 0.6%. I think we all feel that. We can't get people. If you have a company, you're looking for people, you're constantly looking for people. It's very hard. We have one of the lowest unemployment rates in the world. Inflation, 2.9%. That's going to be a problem this year. It's a problem all over the world with the Ukraine war. Oil and commodity prices are hurting everybody, so I expect that to go up. I put this here, the next one, because I believe Cambodia is one of the safest places in the world to live. So safety, health, if you're an investor, a foreign investor, you want to put money here, having a young workforce, this is another really important thing. How safe is it to live in this country? So intentional homicides, which is something the World Bank tracks, it's not something I made up, this is tracked by the World Bank, is 2 per 100,000, which was down from 2 decades ago, 5 per 100,000. So it's one of the safest countries in the world. Give you an idea, we're 2 per 100,000. The United States is 7 per 100,000. Almost 4 times the amount of homicides that we have. It's amazing. Philippines is about 4 as a sort of an Asian comparison. Government debt is 10 billion. That's a tick on Apple going up a quarter or a half. It's nothing. Indonesia's 414 billion compared to our 10 billion. We have a lot of room to borrow. Borrowing to increase investment in the country. Foreign investment direct flows, net inflows are about 14% of GDP. That's up from 3.2%. Again, almost 4 times. And access to internet is very important. So mobile cellular subscriptions for 100 people are 126 in 2020 versus 1.1. So in 2000, 1 person out of 100 had a mobile phone connection. Now there's one, everybody has, and in fact 20% have more. I've been asked to talk about what are the economic pillars of Cambodia. So garments historically have been one of the largest economic pillar, and that remains pretty much the same. Real estate and construction was in 2nd place before COVID, and tourism and agriculture to follow. That really is beginning to change, but it's still very much, there's concentration in those areas. GDP is expected to grow 5.3% in 2022 and 6.5% in 2023, so we got to get back to our 7.7% average, and I think we will next year. And I think the silver bullet will be China. Because China will open up next year, and that will really give us an infusion, a massive infusion in the economy. Inflation will be high this year. There's nothing we can do about it. It's out of our control. It's out of our control because it's really affected what's happening in Ukraine with Russia, and that's going to continue for a while, so expect high inflation around the world, globally. Agriculture in Cambodia is finally beginning to realize is being a real core part of the economy. So now it's 22% of the economy. Industries contribute about 35%. The service sector is about 37%. So there was a strong recovery in 2021 in light manufacturing. Light manufacturing is garments, footwear, travel, goods recovered exceptionally well. Non-garment productivity is also robust. Exports rose 30.7%. This, however, is another issue because the concentration of exports is with the United States is almost 40%. As much as I talk about China being 50% or more in FDI, also a big risk to have the United States at 38 to 40% of exports. We need to diversify our base of who we export to. And it really hasn't been because of EBA. It's just that the U.S. economy recovered really fast, and there was a high demand. It's a major consumer economy, the United States. Agriculture exports rose 19% in 2021. A lot of the RSCP, these trade treaties are going to help agriculture a lot. And I expect there's going to be high growth that could continue with agriculture. It's becoming a really good part of the economy now, contributing to the economy. It's growth in cassava, banana, rubber. Services contracted 0.4%, not bad. This is the restaurant industries, the hotel industries. But there's been a decline in food, transportation, and so forth. That's expected with what's happened. There's been restrictions on international travel, so there's been a huge drop in, obviously, arrivals in the airport, down 85%. I was just in Thailand last week. It's coming back strong. Tourism is coming back strong. They're having record tourism again since COVID. I expect that to drip along here somehow. I hope so. So we should see that get better, but it's not going to get anywhere near where we were before COVID. It's going to take some time. Our trading partners, the trade is, of course, because of these trade treaties, is growing. So there's strong momentum of Cambodia's merchandise exports. We expect also that FDI to grow quite a bit. Industrial output is expanded by 8.1% in 2022. We expect 9.1% in 2023. Again, garments will grow. Strong demand by relocation of orders from the People's Republic of China and neighboring countries. That means expect investment in Cambodia. The garment industry should expect more investment because there's a relocation of investment from China and neighboring countries to Cambodia. Expect that to continue. The service sector is expected to rebound. 4.8% this year, 6.8% in 2023. Will reflect a rebound in hotels, restaurants from the contraction of the last 2 years, and wholesale and retail trade, transport and communications, and real estate. So as part of the transaction that you just probably read about with Kiwi Mart being sold to Big C, you see that wholesale and retail trade is going to increase. Big plans for Big C here, big plans for other retail trade organizations to invest in the country. So we expect wholesale and retail to grow quite a bit. Other economic drivers, great job by the government on the law of investment, which was adopted in October 2021. It will attract more domestic and foreign investment into manufacturing. I was very pleased just about 3 weeks ago to see the Ford assembly plant open. Not only because it was a U.S. investment, but it was an assembly plant. This is a higher skilled manufacturing required. It's not producing garments with sewing machines. It's an assembly plant, again, higher level of skills for manufacturing. So we'll see more of that. The law of investment has provided incentives. It's a comprehensive, transparent, and predictable legal framework to make Cambodia more attractive. So the law of investment is a very big positive this year. The specific incentives provided are regional and global supply chains, and for production of electronics, spare parts, mechanical and machinery equipment, and agro-processing. Again, higher skilled manufacturing jobs. Very important for us. The new regional trade agreements, as I said, and repeatedly, are really having an impact on the economy already and will continue to do so. And the government has a plan. It absolutely has a plan. On December 22nd, the government launched the Strategic Framework and Program for Post-Recovery 221 to 223. 3 pillars: recovery, reform, resilience, economic diversification, trade facilitation, law on special economic zones. There's a plan, there's a structure, and it will be good for the country and the people. So thank you very much. That's my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.